Hello everyone, welcome to video 5 of the series on building an AI investing assistant. By the end of this video, we'll have constructed an investing assistant capable of analyzing and answering natural language questions about any public company. The motivation of building this assistant is to leverage AI to perform efficient analysis and help inform intelligent investment decisions. In the previous videos, we outlined the project and divided the application into 3 segments or modules. The first module was data loading, which provided access to real-time data by gathering a company's full financial data set from a financial API and then loading that into a database. The second module was natural language to SQL query conversion. This gave the assistant the ability to access the database with simple natural language questions and statements provided by the user. In this video, we cover the third module, which is the question answering or synthesis. This is where we generate the final answer to the user's original question. The way this works is we take the user's question and the information extracted from the database pertaining to that question. Then we send them both to a large language model like GPT, which generates a well-formatted and easy to understand answer. For example, if I asked what the trend in NVIDIA's operating profit margins were over the last 3 trailing 12-month periods, that question is transformed into a database query, which extracts the operating margins for these periods. And then this raw data and the question are inserted into a prompt, which is sent to an LLM, which in turn generates an answer. Using database retrieval and real-time data ensures that the application is answering the question based on up-to-date information. This increases the likelihood of accurate and useful answers and reduces the likelihood of hallucinations, which is critical to providing information which informs investment decisions. We can take a look at how this works in the code. This is the function that handles the question answering. So it takes as an input just a text question from the user. That text is then used as the input for the natural language to data function, which we talked about in the previous video. What this function does is it takes the simple text question and it converts it into a database query, and then it extracts the information from the database with that query. We can see what that would look like over here in the console. I can ask a question like, what is the trend in operating profit margin over the last 5 years? Then what we get back is this dictionary. It contains the original question. It contains a description of the data required to answer the question, the query that was created to extract the data, and the actual data that was extracted from the database. So all of this is going to be fed into the large language model in order to get an answer to this question using real-time data. This code here just reformats the data so that it can be sent to the large language model. And this line of code is where we actually send the data to the large language model in order to generate the answer. The GPT endpoint function, that's just a wrapper function that I created for accessing the GPT API. We can specify the model, GPT-4 Turbo in this case, and then also we will provide it with a prompt in order to give it instructions to carry out this task. This is the prompt that we would send to GPT. It basically just instructs. This just describes the task, which is to act like a knowledgeable financial assistant and answer the question using the data provided. This describes the format of the data and what the large language model can expect. And this just provides additional information on how we would like the output to be delivered. So going back to the user interface, I can enter the symbol for Microsoft, load Microsoft's financial data, and then I can ask the question, what is the trend in operating profit margin over the last 5 years? So this is the response that was provided. The operating profit margin has been increasing over the last 5 years. And then it just goes through each year and specifies what the profit margin was. It also says this indicates consistent improvement. So this seems to work. It's using data from a financial API, so this is current data. But one of the issues I have is it's just outputting a paragraph of text, which can get a little bit ugly, especially when you're dealing with financial data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the prompt here, and I'm going to give it additional instructions on how to format the output. I'm going to tell it to follow these instructions, that I want the output to be in HTML, to use tables, lists, headings, and paragraphs to organize the information, and then just some other instructions like putting margin on the paragraphs and how to format the tables. I'm also going to instruct it to place the summary of the explanation, which answers the question, at the top. So I don't want it to give me the data and then the answer to the question. I want the answer to the question first and then the supporting data that follows. Now I'm going to go back to the user interface and I'm going to ask the exact same question. What is the trend in operating profit margin over the last 5 years? And now we see the output. So this looks a lot better. You can see that it's created a nice table to hold the data. We have a title at the top, operating profit margin trend. And the answer to the question is right at the top as well. The operating profit margin has been increasing over the last 5 years. And a little more information. Much better output, much better format for the output than just getting text. And of course, this doesn't just have to be applied to stock market data. It can be applied to any type of data that's stored in a database. So any company that stores data in a database can access that data through just natural language questions and conversation, which is pretty incredible. We could certainly continue to improve the output here. Maybe we could add some charts. Maybe we can add some additional information. But for now, as a basic proof of concept, I'm pretty happy with how this worked. So what would be the next steps in terms of developing this in the future? Well, the first thing would be testing, making sure that the outputs are accurate and we're getting the information that we need. We can also work on prompt engineering and fine-tuning the models, which will improve the outputs for our specific use case. We can make improvements to the user interface, including adding different types of graphics to the outputs. Also adding additional sources of data like non-financial data. And we can consider using agents to handle more complex questions and analysis. Agents being AI systems that have access to tools and are able to accomplish tasks that have multiple steps. But for now, this was a proof of concept, and I think it's showing good promise. That's it for this video. If you found this content interesting, then subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment or hit the like button. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.